Hi, Paul. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Oh, you're not upside down now. That's great.
Yeah, I didn't know if I should be sideways or there we go. Perfect.
No, that's absolutely great. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for joining me tonight. That's brilliant.
Oh, no problem.
I hope it's not late or very early where you are. So
No, I think it's a little later for you, for sure.
that's all right. Fine. I'm Sheri. I'm from Ever Metal. We are a online sort of web scene that does all things rock and metal. So again, thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, well, thanks for having me.
No problem. Okay, so we'll just well, first off, how are you at the moment? How are things?
I'm doing well, as well as we I can, I guess, in this whole crazy time, right? But
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, but doing all right. So I can't complain, So
fantastic. That's what we'd like to hear. So, um, Violence Unimagined is your 15th studio album. It's very intense. I feel like absolute mashed potato after listening to this. I feel like it's a really fast album compared to a couple of Cannibal Corpse previous releases, and it has more diversity to it in some aspects, doesn't it?
yeah, it's funny you say that, or maybe not funny, but ironically, because that's what I've been saying. Like when people say describe the new record, I'm like, I say the same thing. It's a very intense record,
Mm,
very intense, and a lot going on, and speed driven. Right, I think it's a little faster than say Red Before Black was. And I mean, it's similar, but yet it is a lot different. I mean, we always try for the diversity, and I think this time, of course, we have a bunch of that as well. Of course, having Eric write songs now in the band, that's going to make it he's got his flavor, his taste of, how he's going to write a Cannibal Corpse song, and he did three of them. So that, kind of changes it up a little bit there. But overall, of course, the three guys, Alex, Rob, and Eric writing, they wrote great songs and very, very intense. The drumming, of course, I stepped it up, I think, a little bit more so than I have. Probably the most I ever did. Really, this album nearly killed me. So
very fast, isn't it? So yeah.
yeah, very fast, a lot of fills, very mentally challenging as well. Yeah, but I think the fans are going to dig it. I can't wait for it to finally get released and everybody hear it. And I think they're going to be blown away by like we said earlier, the intensity that this album has.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Like I say, mashed potato. So, before you guys started writing Violence Unimagined, did you envision at all what you already wanted it to sound like or be, or did you have different ideas on shaping the album?
I think we've been doing it for so long, right? In our 15th album, we just always seem to bring the music out when we have to. I'm obviously you're allotted a certain time to write and create. We're not just sitting around going, oh, when we're ready. It's like, no, we don't work that way. We know we have to get an album done and completed, and get back out on the road. And that's the way we've done it our whole career. So I just really think that the music comes from inside of us. Alex has a style of writing, and Rob as well, and Eric, and we're just fortunate that when we are sitting down to create, that we are able to come up with the music for that given time frame. So and I think it's just I think most of it is pretty natural, really. There always maybe a couple of maybe there's a few instances that, okay, you just want to try something different, you didn't do this before, or but very subtle differences, of course, because I think we're always Cannibal Corpse. You're always going to be able to tell it's us. There's going to be a very minor variances here and there, but overall it's us. It's brutal death metal. Like I said, I think it just comes out of us when when we have to bring it out of us, and which is good. If anything, I think we're just getting better as songwriters.
Yeah.
As we've been through it, and gained so-called experience, I guess, and all that, as being a musician for as long as we've had, or what have you, or as a band, you would hope you would gain some, you get better in a lot of ways. We try to. So, but I really think our songwriting is just honing in, getting better, just fine tuning it as we go, and and Violence Unimagined really showcases that, I believe.
Yeah, I think so too. As you just mentioned, of course, you now have Eric joining you officially. Officially, so I mean, he produced your last few albums and filled in on live shows over the years. So now he's with you on a more official basis. He brings his style to the table, so to speak. So there is involvement there.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the way we write too these days is, these days probably within the last 20 years or so, individually. If you notice, our credits, all right, Alex will write his songs, Rob writes his songs. I mean, there's really not much input by the other guys for the most part.
Yeah.
So of course it was going to be no different when Eric came into the band. He wrote his 3 songs. That was his style of writing, albeit he's got a right Cannibal Corpse style. Which, he's been around us long enough. He knows what to do there, but right, a little new for him and exciting because he's used to writing, of course, for Hate Eternal and, and Morbid Angel in the past. So it just brought another flavor, having Eric come up with his take on what Cannibal Corpse, a song Cannibal Corpse should be in his view, it gives a little bit of a fresh approach, I guess, especially in his songs. Yes. So it's good. It's good. It keeps that diversity, right? I mean, I'm glad we have everybody contribute in that way. I think, lyrically and musically, that we're all able to kind of throw it all together, as opposed to having one guy just doing the whole thing. So I think that's keeps us fresh over the years as well. When you can have everybody contributing. So
yeah, fresh eyes is always a really good thing as well, isn't it? So you released the first single from this album, which was Inhumane Harvest in February, right off the scale. Was really well received. Although it was mentioned before, there is diversity on this album with mixed elements of your signature death metal style and technical vibe to it in places, I think. Inhumane Harvest is a great track to give a first impression, or I guess sort of like a taste of what is to come on the album.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you want to put that first song out there that is going to hit everybody pretty hard, and you got to make that decision. And I think it was an easy one, really. It's my favorite song on the record. I mean, the album's great. I think all 11 songs are awesome, but you got to pick one. You got to have one that's going to be representing, the band right now as a first song, right? And I think it's got a little bit of everything. It's got the fast, it's got the mid, the chugging, it's got the slow middle part. I mean, it's just it's a great song, so yeah, you had to I think we had to do it. It was, luckily it wasn't, like I said, it was almost a no-brainer, because we could have we have to come up with this decision as a band, and everybody's got to agree here, and luckily all 5 of us agreed, and we're it was pretty easy to decide on Inhumane Harvest. So yeah, I think it's like you said, it's the song is really the fans seem to really dig it. I mean, we know the pre-sales are skyrocketing just off of one song, which is amazing, and the artwork and everything like that. I think everybody's excited. So I think it was definitely the song to put out first, for sure.
Absolutely. The actual video for Inhumane Harvest was pretty brutal as well. It's like something you'd see in a horror movie. The visuals for this track kind of entraps you into what I guess would be morbid curiosity,
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, David Brodsky that did the video did an amazing job, and he's just really trying to come up with a visual representation of what the song's about. That's important, of course. It was almost like when we got with him, discussing what to do visually. Well, his view is, well, the video almost makes itself. You listen to the lyrics, you read the lyrics, and well, that's what it's got to be about.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like you were saying, right? It's just like a mini horror movie, and that's what we were going for, with no band footage and everything. I think it's a cool way to represent the song and the band, and definitely it turned out pretty brutal and pretty horrific, and we're Cannibal Corpse, and we wouldn't have it any other way, I guess. So
absolutely.
It's a great video.
It is great. My favourite tracks on the album are Slowly Sawn and Searments of the Frayed. These are I think, great examples of where some of the diversity in the album comes into play. There's lots of different layers and tempos in these tracks, and it's still brutal and fast, but also grinding and slow. There's a lot of different things going on in this album at the same time, and it makes for really interesting listening.
It does, and I'm glad you mentioned those two songs because yeah, those songs are definitely. I mean, yeah, Slowly Song is maybe a little bit more similar to what we've sort of done, other than the timings and that. That was crazy. It is a crazy song to follow. I mean, I think it's at first listen, it's almost like what's going on here.
Yeah,
Kind of the
yeah,
cerements in a way too. The drumming in cerements was just very difficult for me to get together here and all that, and I'm glad it worked out because what a great song. But yeah, I think you're totally right. It shows the diversity and it definitely a little bit different than we've done. Slowly kind of reminds me a little bit of a crazier Scourge of Iron, maybe sort of.
yeah,
But definitely a crazier version of it because Scourge is a lot more easy to kind of follow. I think Slowly Song is going to take the listener a few listens to really be able to comprehend it. And then Serum is just a very, very different song, very drum driven song.
yeah.
Overall, and a lot of different stuff that I haven't done in a song. So yeah, I think those two songs are really, really powerful songs on the record, and it was good to end with Cerements, especially. It just seemed to be a really great song to end the record with. So
Yeah.
it's cool that you mentioned those two.
Awesome, awesome. What actually makes a good songwriter for you?
What do you mean?
So, like, what do you think is makes a good songwriter? Like, what there's sort of certain elements that you look for in songwriting, or
Well, that would have to be, it's a tough question for me to answer fully because obviously I'm not really involved in writing the riffs and the arrangements for the most part. I mean, I help with some arrangements with Rob's songs, but obviously, 90% of it is him writing the riffs and doing it. And Eric's and Alex's are pretty much done when they're presented to the band. So it's. I think we're just looking for, just you always want to be catchy for being as catchy as death metal can be, I guess. I think we've always tried to go with that. Write some good heavy riffs, that are going to grab you, of course. For me, I guess to answer that fully would be, well, because obviously I've been involved in the lyric writing over the years. I only wrote two songs lyrically on this record, Murderous Rampage and Cerements of the Flayed. So right, when I was presented, say, with Cerements of the Flayed, I just obviously, I hear the song and I try to write what comes natural to me, hearing what the vocals are going to be. But of course I want to try to write, some catchy lines, of course. So I think that's been the way we've always gone about it. We're brutal death metal, but yet you want to have those hooks, you want to have that catch, and I think that's what's kept us around for 32 years here. And arguably the biggest death metal band or whatever in the world, and still going strong. I mean, we write pretty good catchy songs, for being death metal. So I think that's just an important element.
it is, and people still love it as well. So it doesn't matter, kind of, if you're evolving or if you're doing something that's slightly different, and then, or if you go back, people are still very much into what you do. So
That's a good thing. Yeah, I mean, I think we've got such a great fan base, and right, it's us writing it.
yeah,
The core of the band has been together for years now, right? So
yeah,
Alex, you got to just trust what Alex is going to write. You got to
yeah,
trust what Rob's going to write. If we like it, well then, okay, well then, there's a good chance that I guess all our fans are going to like it, right? And sometimes it may be a little bit different, and then some songs may be a little similar, but to what we've done in the past. But yeah, I mean, we're Cannibal Corpse, and we pull it out of us, and if hopefully you like it, and if you don't, well, we like it, and luckily our fans like it. So
but
that's
yeah,
the important thing.
absolutely. When you're crafting your drumming parts, how do you decide between going kind of full force brute or something a bit more technical or even melodical, and how that will fit in your vision of the track?
It's really trying to fit the drums to the song, of course,
Mm.
and I think and that comes down to our getting better as songwriters, not just going full on, speed or whatever, really making it a little more diverse, I mean, when you compare like the old albums and the old way we wrote and songs, I mean, it was very primitive, chaotic, especially in the drumming department, which is great, it's totally Cannibal, that's the way we were writing back then, but obviously it's gotten a lot of more, maybe thought into what the drums are doing, of course, trying to match the riffs maybe or here and there, but to tell you the truth, and I mean, and this is known, of course, over the years here, especially the way Alex writes, Alex comes up with his songs and he pretty much writes his own drum parts because he ends up knowing what's going to fit. He's the writer. He's the guy that made the song. So he sits there and in his mind, knowing what I'd be able to play. And then coming up with that's what's going to fit the song, of course, and he always tells me, you're always up to changing anything, but it's like, why change anything when that was your vision and it works, I mean, maybe a couple things need to be changed. Fills aren't exactly the same, or, maybe some accents or whatever, but overall, in the last, say, I don't know, 15 years, whatever Alex writes, and then comes up with drumming wise, I end up, doing that. So that's cool because then that makes it diverse too. I'm not going to be a guy that, oh no, I need to make up all my parts. I mean, it's like, I play for what, I'm a part of the band and hey, if somebody else came up with a drum part that works that, I wouldn't have thought of, and I'm all for it, it may be a little more difficult for me to wrap my head around sometimes, like on this record, it was a little crazy. Cerements, I always go back to Cerements. That was both of those songs. It's funny you mentioned those two songs, Slowly Son and Cerements, because those were two Alex's songs, and those were the last two that I had to learn of his. And they were so mentally draining to me because they're obviously Slowly Son isn't a fast song at all. It's just very mental, and then Cerements got a little more speed going on, but it's doable. It's not out of my range of, it's super fast. It's fast, but my gosh, I was driven nuts trying to learn these songs. And I'm glad I did because it's what needed to happen in the drumming department for those songs. Otherwise they wouldn't, it wouldn't be as good, so at this point, writing Rob songs, that's where we kind of still work a little old school. Rob maybe he'll come up with a skeleton and have some riffs, but then me and him will get together and we'll still kind of hash out the song. And I might say, hey, I want to do this here and do that. And, oh yeah, that works. And then we kind of go old school, with Rob's writing, which is cool because then those are the songs that give me a little bit more leeway and a little bit more freedom to actually do something that, that I'm writing on the drum department, So it works both ways, and it's cool to have both, because then it doesn't get stale in the drumming, so I just, it's a challenge and it's fun to do it that way, and it makes for a better record. So,
and a happy musician is a happy record as well. So
that's right.
Well, Violence Unimagined will be released, as we know, on 16th of April. To our viewers, you're in for one hell of a ride, really. Are there any plans at this stage for Cannibal Corpse? What your next steps are going to be? I don't want to obviously talk too much about the pandemic because we all know that it's had such an effect on everybody. But is there anything next that you'll be focusing on in terms of this album?
Not right now, I mean, we're obviously, just getting it out, of course. That's what we're focusing on, which, is kind of out of our hands at this point, just like everybody else waiting and, the record label taking care of all that kind of stuff. But right. I mean, nothing concrete in the sense of touring yet, obviously it looks like things may start opening up, maybe if we're lucky by the end of the year. And then, it seems like things are happening, next year. So, but, so we'll have to kind of wait it out and see. Obviously we want to be out there as soon as we can, like everybody else, but we still might have to wait a little bit. So we're just kind of taking it day by day at this point, like let the release come out, let's do these interviews for it and get rolling in that way. And, then we'll, like I said, just kind of taking it day by day and see what happens here.
Yeah, I think the power of social media and the internet is good at these sort of times, isn't it? So
yes, definitely. Yes, you're right.
So, I mean, finally, really, Paul, what advice would you give other artists at the moment?
Well, I mean, probably what I would just give to any artist at any moment, I guess, is just, you got to follow your dream. If you have a will, you'll find a way, especially in music. I mean, we were just kids growing up in Buffalo, New York, and, we love some, this kind of music, of intense, music, and, it becomes your passion, and you just got to follow what you believe in, and maybe good things will happen, maybe they don't, who knows, but I mean, you have to try. I mean, you have to try and follow your heart. I think that happens in every aspect of life, not even being a musician, just in life, and whatever your dream is, try to, especially when you're young, try to follow that, because you only live once. You may only have those times to give it a shot, and then at least if you don't succeed, you can look back and go, hey, I at least gave it a try, because
Yeah.
nothing worse than the, oh man, what if, or if I would have done that, or you shouldn't, so we're very fortunate, very glad and happy that it all obviously worked for us, and here we are to be able to talk about it, and feel very lucky and fortunate for that. So
Yeah,
just follow your dream, follow your passion, don't give up, and that's all you can do.
that's a very humble way of looking at things. Yeah. Yeah, brilliant.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your time. It's been very sort of insightful to talk to you about these things. So thank you.
Well, thanks for having me, Sheri. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad we got to talk here.
No worries. Me too. Thank you so much. Take care, be safe, and be happy. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. You too. Same to you.
Bye. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Stuck against another victim for complete control. Reaping final body parts.